You play the first tune first? Yeah. Or...
You try with a federation, the whole thing end in confusion. CARICOM and then CARIFTA, but somehow a spelling disaster. Mr. West Indian politician, I mean you went to a big institution, and how come you can't unite 7 million? When a West Indian unity, I know it's very easy. If you only rap to your people and tell them like me, them is one race,
the Caribbean man,
from the same place,
the Caribbean man,
that make the same trip,
the Caribbean man,
on the same ship.
the Caribbean man.
So we must push one common intention, it's for a better life in the region, for we women and we children. That must be the ambition of the Caribbean man, the Caribbean man, the Caribbean man.
Oh yeah. It's Emancipation Day, major moment in the history of the Caribbean, particularly in English-speaking Caribbean. On August the 1st, 1834, the Emancipation Proclamation was read. And after 4 years of protests, the 6 years of apprenticeship that were tacked on to the full freedom, they had to take it away. So in 1838, the English-speaking Caribbean had full emancipation. And this is a moment that we celebrate, that we remember the horrors of enslavement, the horrors of chattel slavery that were visited upon the Caribbean since the 14th century in the Caribbean, across the Caribbean. And we remember that, we remember those horrors, and we remember the triumphs and the defiance of our people. And talking of triumphs and defiance, I have a fella here today. He's a Bailey provocateur. He is an advocate of several things on the interwebs. He's also a boss cook, straight out of Mova. Has very strong opinions on what does and does not belong in soup. Baidawi Assing of Eater Food fame. Welcome so much to I Belong to the House of Music inside the Wajang discotheque.
Thank you,
And, you know, we have Baidawi here today. I trained him up to come and talk, but also to come and bubble a pot with us. Emancipation Day, we are eating something that would have been eaten by ex-enslaved Africans around the time of emancipation. So we eating today breadfruit and pigeon peas, right?
Yeah. One pot something.
One pot something.
Yeah.
Very simple, but also very nutritious.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me just dive into the conversation one time.
Yeah.
Baidawi, why food? And what pushed you towards food?
Well, truth be told, I was always cooking. I started cooking from a young age, like about, I would say around 8, 9. But I mean, when I say cooking, obviously I don't mean like this. I was making like, pancakes and, trying to fry an egg and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I was always interested in cooking.
Right.
So it's something that was always with me. And later on in my teenage years, I got more involved in cooking, more actively involved, I should say. Like I had a keen interest in it from teenage years, and well, it just kind of evolved into what I'm doing now.
Okay, cool. And specifically, the kinds of food that you're cooking on Eater Food is like very local, very indigenous, but also playing with the sort of separations that exist between the different types of food that we have here.
Yeah.
Why is that so important to you?
Well, I mean, I think food definitely tells a lot about a people, especially with us, as Caribbean people, and specifically in Trinidad and Tobago. I think the food, the way that we cook and the way that we eat says a lot about us as a people. So I always wanted to, in portraying our cooking, do it in a way that kind of really celebrates who we are as a people. And I think we haven't done enough of that, I should say, in food media specifically, and in the digital space. So it's kind of like I saw an opportunity or like an opening to do something like that. And yeah, I think it's really important, just from the perspective of being authentic, that is what kind of drives the decision in what to cook and what kind of ingredients to highlight, the bay leaf, the ruku. That's what I grew up seeing, my grandmother, cooking, my mother. So it's kind of like just kind of keeping the traditional life, I should say. Because that could easily get lost in the modern landscape,
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious as to how we move so far away from things like cooking with ruku. I mean, having myself cooking with ruku these days, I'm just like, how we convince ourselves that burning sugar is a better way to stew meat or stew things than ruku.
Yeah.
And I mean that also ties back into our indigenous past, the first peoples.
Definitely.
That cooking with ruku is part of their tradition. So that coming together of African forms of cooking with the indigenous forms of cooking. I'm really excited about that idea and how those things live in the present day.
Yeah. Well, those things excite me.
Yeah.
So, bringing it back and me exploring it on my own as well is basically just me sharing my enjoyment for it. People might think it's on a crusade, but I'm not. I really just exploring it myself and just sharing what I learn sharing my own excitement about it.
But I mean, so what if you were on a crusade?
Indeed. So what?
So what if you were on a crusade? Do you feel, I know that you are very provocative with eater food. You have a specific thing called flame on, where you say extremely incendiary things to people, and then people just get in argument with you. And how important do you feel it is to have such strong opinions? I mean, actually, I can't think of many other people who are cooking who actually put together food and politics, or food and ideology, or food and, race and class and history.
Yeah.
There isn't that kind of conversation generally going on within our food world in Trinidad.
But the thing is, it exists.
Yeah.
Whether or not people want to speak about it or not, it exists. It's something that I haven't always been. You know what? It's something I guess you're aware of, but it's only when you actually explore and then you learn defining terms and all these, ideologies, as you would say, that kind of behind where you're thinking. So, you're thinking it and you're feeling it and you grow up seeing it and experiencing it, but it's almost like having the vocabulary now to really expand on these ideas and communicate what it is you're actually feeling and the connection between politics and food and race and class and that kind of thing. So it exists, and again, it's something that I would say passionate about, and passionate about bringing to the forefront in terms of having it as a conversation in food. So definitely is part of what I would want to communicate on the channel as well.
Okay, awesome. So we started off with Stalin, Caribbean man.
Yeah, Caribbean Unity.
Caribbean Unity. They, we always rename tunes.
Yeah. Growing up as Caribbean man.
Yeah,
it's Caribbean man.
It's a Caribbean man. And at some point I was like, where the woman? Yeah.
Not to then to find out that the name of the song is Caribbean Unity.
Exactly. Exactly. So Leroy Callis, one of the Calypsonians who came out of that Black traditions and arts movement of the 1970 Black Power period. And I have to say that a lot of these songs that you've chosen today are reflective of a sort of emancipation movement, and also Black Power, also pushing a certain type of consciousness.
Right.
How did that music begin to shape your consciousness?
The thing about it is, again, you have no idea at that point that you're being shaped by these things. It's like, this is what my father was listening to. I listening to what my father playing it, so I listening to it, and it influencing you, but you're not aware at the time just how much it influencing you. So me choosing these songs today is like, when you tell me choose a couple songs, I had to kind of think about, all right, what songs like if you had to ask me songs that kind of have a special meaning to me in terms of who I am as a person and my political ideologies and that kind of thing. That's, I guess, why I chose the songs that I chose. Not just political and that kind of thing, but even as my development as a person, from childhood to teenager to adulthood, definitely. Those songs, the songs that I chose, kind of have, all of them have a kind of significance in that way. Yeah.
Okay, so we hear our next piece of music now. Let's hear what it is.
Yeah.
Party, a Caribbean party, the entire region together in one big splashdown fiesta.
A Caribbean connection, a regional vibration.
I say we jamming to the songs of the Caribbean, we grooving to calypso and steel band. This jam go be irie. Is one love, so feel free. For we are the people of the Caribbean, showing that we don't want no basin plan.
Merchant Caribbean Connection. Another song about connecting to the Caribbean. How do you see, what has been your experience of food culture in other parts of the region, and what kind of intersections do you see with Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, definitely, because I guess we all came from, the same regions, there's a connection between the processes and even ingredients and that kind of thing. And I think it's a fascinating thing, the way we have callaloo, Jamaica has callaloo, is a similar cooking process using, leafy greens and that kind of thing, but two totally different dishes.
Yeah.
And for me, just kind of exploring those connections, it tells so much about us and the journey that we went through as a people, and not just, African people, but Indian as well. I mean, the whole Caribbean as a melting pot, it just kind of speaks to our experience through, the slave trade, through colonialism, all of that, how all the other different cultures, kind of impacted our food and how we cook. And so it's something that is still in the process of exploring. COVID come and kind of a damper on that, because in 2020, my plan was to kind of travel the Caribbean and to do a little more content. So that kind of get...
Joke.
Yeah, that gets joke. But I would like to, sorry.
There's another question that I have, which is connected to that idea of, in Trinidad, we have this way, we call food that is from our African experience, we call it Creole food. When really, I think that all foods that are here in some way have been Creolized.
Yeah.
And so that idea that, everybody else has food that is of the place that they came from originally, but we do not really see a connection to African food, so that people are always surprised when they travel to West Africa and see so many similarities in the food that is eaten there.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but why? I mean, why is it that we are so afraid to claim Africa in terms of our food?
Oh, we know why. we know why.
I mean, yeah. It was more rhetorical than anything else, but you know, do you have a feeling on how we sort of redress that or challenge that within food movements?
Well, it's something that came up recently when I watched the documentary High on the Hog.
Yeah.
They did a lot of exploration, but I think they missed an opportunity to connect the West African experience through the America and then to the Caribbean, because it's all one, it's all a shared experience. When you look at the Americans, the Gullah Geechee tradition, it's like that West African tradition just kind of permeates everything, and it's like, why don't we, I don't understand why we don't try to find a kind of cohesion in the way that we address or even explore, talk about food. It's always this kind of like, it's like we do it in silos. You know, America doing this and the Caribbean doing that, and even in the Caribbean it's still splintered and fragmented. And I think it's important that we see ourselves more as the same than different, you know?
True,
Yeah.
true.
Like, you know, fufu and kuku. Like,
I mean, it's essentially the same thing. I mean,
just it's different ingredients.
Tom is the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they also have a version of Tom in Dominica,
Right.
which is also made with plantain.
Right.
I mean, you know, if you go up the region, you see so many similarities and so many retentions that, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, Sidley, Callaloo, and you know,
collard greens and it's the
yeah.
same approach to the dish. So definitely the connection is there, and I think it's really important for us to see the connections and to have conversations about it. You know, it is too much. I tried to raise the point, and a lot of people were kind of like, you know, it's not the same thing. You know, I started to get pushback. And it's like, you know, when people start to push back, I was like, all right, you know, let me leave it alone. You know, because when you're on Twitter and that kind of thing, you only have so many characters to form a argument or a debate or that kind of thing. And a lot gets lost. People not into nuance on Twitter and think,
there's no nuance,
everything is binary. You know, it's like this or that. Yeah, so I left it alone.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that we definitely need to talk about, and I try my best through the content and some of the recipes I share and that kind of thing, to kind of make those connections and let people know, hey, you know, I'm trying a Nigerian chicken stew. Yes, it is not the same thing from what would be in Nigeria because access to ingredients and that kind of thing, but it's applying the techniques, you know. It's like we have different ingredients here, but you know, you apply the techniques and you do something that is, you know, is emulating the process. And that's kind of showing people, you know, we could explore our roots and that kind of thing through food and have some kind of solidarity, you know, through that.
Yeah, definitely. Next tune. This one is a special one because it's actually from our last guest on I Belong to the House of Music, and you know, having him transition also so close to Emancipation. And the idea that the next time we are out on the streets proclaiming our freedom, that
he wouldn't be there.
He won't be there with us, ringing his bell and striding through the streets of East Port of Spain with us, you know. But we say, travel well, Lutalo Masimba, the great, great, great brother resistance.
pressure don't drop, but we never surrender. Tonight when we jam is to break them chain, and all who labor must hold the rain. Oh, what a night. Oh, what a night when truth and rights come down and caress me, and the voice of the people cry and cry and cry for liberty. Raise your hand and show me your motion. Stand up and jam if you're ready for action. Make them oppressors feel and tumble, boy. The Babylon kingdom cease and settle. Raise your hand and show me your motion. Stand up and jam if you're ready for action. Tonight I'm feeling for the power and the glory.
Oh, what a night. Resistance, we miss you. But we thank you. We give thanks for all of the work that you did. You know, and it's really interesting how deeply connected the Rapso movement is to the Emancipation movement, you know. And I'm not sure that we've really explored why that connection exists. But certainly it emerges out of Lancelot Lane's connection and Lancelot Lane's participation. You know, he was certainly a very strong advocate for the declaration of an emancipation holiday from the beginning. And I remember Resistance talking about the fact that, you know, when they named Rapso, they went to Lancelot Lane and they said, yeah, you know, we're doing this thing as Rapso and thing. And he was so not interested in the idea of naming the thing. He was just like, look, the point of the music, is to spread the message.
Right.
The message has to be in the music.
Right.
And so it really doesn't matter what you call it.
Yeah.
Once it doing
Once
the
it-
work.
yeah. Once it doing what it's supposed to
doing
do.
the work
Yeah.
of communicating about certain retentions, that is the important thing. And so, you know, to see that continued connection between emancipation as a movement and the Rapso community, I think is really beautiful. And you also have some involvement with music as well.
Yeah. I used to produce. Well, I guess I still produce. Started when I was young. I started producing when I was 16. And, you know, my first, I would say, love in terms of genres was hip-hop. So I gravitated towards that. But eventually started to kind of refine what I wanted to do because, you know, at the end of the day, it's like I wanted to do something that reflective of my own experience now, you know, as a Trinidadian, Trinbagonian. And then, you know, being from Mova and that kind of thing. So just like, you know, there had to be a message in the music for rap. So I think what I was doing had to have some level of authenticity to it. I didn't want to just be emulating stuff that I was hearing from abroad and that kind of thing. So that's really what kind of pushed me into doing what we labeled as future Rapso, which wasn't to say that Rapso was a thing of the past, but really just saying we kind of want to take Rapso and push it into the same spaces as other music that being enjoyed all over the world, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, that was real important to me. Again, it's like, you know, you're growing up and you're hearing stuff and thing, and you're not aware of how it influencing you know, until later on, and it's like, all right, now I get it.
Yeah.
I also had, you know, my own thoughts on why it's almost like I feel like we kind of gravitated away from Rapso. You know, whether it was because of society, how our society structured or what, but it seemed like Rapso kind of got pushed to the side, and then we went for more jubilant, more happy expressions of music, where Rapso was traditionally seen as something, you know, very rebellious in spirit, speaking about struggle and that kind of thing. And I don't know, it seemed like people just wasn't interested enough in that, but that is where I always gravitate towards that kind of music across all genres, whether it's, you know, reggae, in pop music, rap music, that kind of thing. Like, the more, I guess, rebellious it is, the more that it have the vibe of anti-establishment and that kind of thing. That is me. That is my vibe. That is my lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, certainly there is a space for the creation of joy and the assertion of joy.
Yeah.
Within the music,
Yeah.
so that you could, you know, and that's where, say, the intersection happens, say, with something like Juve, where you have, you know, this demand, this active resistance against the seriousness, an active resistance against the only seeing struggle, only seeing horror, but, you know, also seeing the possibility for us to be joyous in our celebration of just even the fact that we are still here. That is something that we that certainly needs to be celebrated. But it's how the celebration is done.
Definitely. And it's actually something you said a while ago. It was those same sentiments where it's almost like, allow me to be a whole person. It's like, don't just see me and say, you know, or, you know, I only serious, or like anybody else, you have different sides there. And I think it has happened to me a lot too. People will be like, you know, I didn't even know you just talk so much. I could cuss. I could say shit. Okay, right, yeah, people be like, I don't know, you just talk so much shit. I was like, I mean, just be serious, but I don't be serious all the time. You know, people say, I don't know, you just being Juve. It's like, well, I don't like to wine too hard. It's like, I don't understand you. I don't like to drink and wine too. It's
no,
like, you know,
but I feel like that, particularly for African people in the diaspora, we are constantly held to a much higher standard.
Oh, definitely.
Right? So we must always be serious. We must always be very successful. We must always present ourselves in a particular way. We must always do all of these things in order for us to not be then labeled as idle, savage, barbaric, lazy. All of the things that are still left over from enslavement.
Definitely.
You know, and we really wonder why we still see ourselves in these ways. But I mean, we can even get into a conversation about, you know, the perception of the beach as leisure, as opposed to the perception of the beach as a place to restore your mental health and your spiritual health as well. And the fact that people who are supposed to be working do not deserve leisure. Certain bodies do not deserve leisure. We must always be working, right? And livelihood must always come before leisure. Really, the reason why we have such high levels of high blood pressure is not because we are liming too much. It's because we are working too much. And we are in a constant state of hustle, in a constant state of wondering if the police are going to ask us what we're doing here. You know, there is accumulated stress and trauma that we have not dealt with. And yes, by all means, sometimes you need to go by the beach and sap your shoulders and see water. And, you know, so even the idea that things that we do to restore ourselves are signs of laziness or signs of, you know, somehow not being useful.
As you say, it's like we're not allowed to be our full selves, you know? Unless as you say, we're not working hard, working our fingers to the bone, that kind of thing. Is like, well, then you're wasting time. And I mean, that's something, I mean, you would even grow up hearing. You know, if you're idle too much, your parents like, you know, it's too much idleness. But I mean, sometimes, even as a youth, the best ideas that they come up with, or even sometimes social skills and that kind of thing that's happened while you're playing.
Absolutely.
Even so much so, I remember telling my sister when my nephew was small, you know, she was talking about, you know, getting him to read and things. I was like, let him read comic books. I was like, this thing that people have against comic books, like, you know, like, it's not real reading. It's like, no. It's like, when you read a comic book, it's like you're investing in a story. It just helps your own imagination and that kind of thing. And people think that, you know, education had to come from, you know, this very rigid, you know, it's something that is handed down. And I guess it have different ways of accessing education that is outside of the parameters of school and that kind of thing. So, I mean, that is a whole broad topic that we can get into.
Yeah, we ain't come here to Should we have a next tune? Next tune.
Yeah.
Next
the
tune.
bubbling.
The bubbling.
Yeah.
Things are tinging.
Yeah.
Looking nice.
I hope it tastes nice. I had to add this song.
Yeah.
Had to. This song.
Watch it. Be happy this evening. Be having a party. If you're sleeping, wake up. If you sit down, stand up. Now it's time to party. Shake a leg. Soca music play. Get up and dance. Soca tempo jamming. Get up and dance. Magale chumwe. Bongo te chupu. Ratty way chupu. Hey, get up and dance. Everybody rise up in the party. Rise up. Give it a da 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 da. We doing we own thing. We going till morning. Do not try to sneak out. Don't get high and freak out. Let your body speak out. Work it out. Soca music play. Get up and dance. Soca tempo jamming. Get up and dance. Magale chumwe. Bongo te chupu. Ratty way chupu. Hey, get up and dance.
Aye.
Okay. All right.
Woo, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so we having a little Baba Gadok, which comes from the Maroon community, the Americans down in Maruga. But
This serious.
it's serious.
This serious.
It's serious.
Yeah.
But if you want some, call Mama Kila, the Paramount Chief. She have it nice. This one actually has sorrel in it, and sorrel, of course, is a really important. Well, they call it hibiscus flower. So what we call sorrel is really from the hibiscus family, also related to okra family as well.
Yeah.
And a very important herb, has lots of different uses, very good for high blood pressure, and it also has a lot of vitamin C in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but now we're having it with a little bit of, how should I say this? Organically distilled spirit.
Well put.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
niceness.
Real niceness. Right.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't have had this like at this point of the conversation.
This should have been later on in the interview, but
Yeah. Anyway,
you know, yeah.
but we heard before from Lesson Paul,
Yeah.
the great, one of the greatest producers to come out of the 70s and 80s in Trinidad.
Right.
Still working up until today. Big up Lesson Paul for all the music. So much music.
Yeah. So you see how you said producer, right? When I was getting into music production, I was influenced by a lot of foreign music. That song is the local song that influenced me to become a producer.
Wow.
Because it was his name, the producer, as the artist. It was Leston Paul and the New York Connection. And I was like, I thought it was, you know, like, who's singing? And my father said that's Lennox Piku. I
Yeah.
was like, so the producer, he's like, nah, Leston Paul is the producer. I was like, well, I could do this producing thing.
Yeah.
Because I had no, ambitions of being a performer or anything like that. But I love music and I wanted to create music. So I was like, you know, yeah, I could be behind the scenes and produce and that kind of thing. So that song definitely was, yeah, when I heard it, I was like, big influence.
Yeah.
So I had to pay it on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
So tell me about Detonator as a thing that has grown and evolved over the years.
Yeah, it started as just production, music production. And then I guess because of all the other things I was involved in, design and that kind of thing, and it was, well, Quincy became a part of it. So it was me, Quincy, and then my cousin Umar from Canada started a company. And I guess you gotta call it a creative agency. If you want, I don't like the word agency, but I mean, we try to function, I guess, as that. Did that for a little while, and it evolved again into doing Eater Food. So Eater Food was just like one of the ideas that came under the Detonator umbrella.
Right.
And then the main focus became Eater Food.
Right.
You know, from music and everything else that we were doing. We
Right.
kind of just shifted the focus to doing Eater Food.
But do you still do music?
Not really. What happened
Not
is
really.
because I doing it for so long, I started when I was 16 and just continued doing music. I have a lot of music that I never use and that kind of thing. So you would find that even like a lot of music that comes up in Eater Food, like on the shows and that kind of thing, is music I would have produced from before. And I guess because film is kind of growing now and becoming more of a thing here, a lot of filmmakers reach out and ask me for like music for soundtracks and that kind of thing. So
Awesome.
yeah, so I get to use music, but I don't actually do any new music really.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't done
Okay.
new music in a while, but I always kind of go back and dabble and share stuff.
How do you think the digital space has changed things for not just producers, but film creators, people who want to produce content, put things out there?
I mean, it definitely democratized access to our audience. Before, when I was coming up, the only way you could get your music played was to go to the radio, and I mean, that never happened for me. I knocked on many doors, many times, and it never happened. So when MySpace and that kind of thing became a thing, I was really excited about that because I could put my music online and reach our audience if I wanted to. So people would say that the internet is the answer to that, and in many cases I would say yes, outside of Trinidad, but I think in Trinidad, radio, traditional media, to an extent, is still the holy grail when it comes to making and breaking artists. People still look at the radio as, if it's on the radio, it's good.
Yeah.
It's automatic. So because of that, there's still a lot of weight placed on getting airplay and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but certainly, I mean, like Trinidad
so I'm not
and
going to talk about that, yeah. So but Trinidad kind of
shake that up.
shaking that up. And I really like the Trinidad movement, you know?
Yeah.
Those guys, they really find a way or found a way to push a movement, because Trinidad is a movement, you know?
Yeah.
It's a movement, much like, you know, the Rapso movement and other movements that we had, Kiskidi Caravan back in the day and that kind of thing. Trinidad is definitely a force.
Yeah.
And I'm real glad to see what they're doing. I hope that it evolved to encompass more themes. I mean,
More consciousness.
yeah. Right now it kind of narrow, you know.
Yeah.
And but I hope that they open up that space to allow for other things. I mean, a lot of the guys, for example, Rion Elbon.
Yeah.
He
Super prolific guy.
yeah, and he would say when he was doing conscious stuff, nobody wanted to hear him, and that's when
Right.
he started to sing, you know, things that
Slackness.
wasn't. Yeah. Now people started to pay attention. So,
Yeah.
and I hope, like, you know, for those guys who now that they're getting the attention, they kind of take it back to where they started, you know, or
Right.
the things that I guess they were more passionate about back then that I wasn't getting any airplay for. Now
Right.
that they have an audience, kind of take it back and let people know, hey, now, you know, yeah, we on real badness and we slackness and thing, but we still have conscious messages to
Yeah.
push to people
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah, definitely.
I think it's a really exciting time for where music is going. Even if ideologically it's in a sort of space of limbo,
Yeah,
you know. Even for soca, for mainstream soca, you know, thematically it's been on a particular trajectory.
yeah.
Do you feel that the next time we can have carnival, we might see a little bit more expansion, hopefully, in terms of
You know what? I would hope so, but I don't think that will happen because people are so repressed right now. I think the next carnival will probably be the slackest in Trinidad history. I think it will be the slackest carnival ever. I fully expect to see people having full-blown sex in the streets. That will not surprise me if
Yeah.
that happened because people be so locked down now, you know. The next carnival will be
it's going to be
madness.
overdue.
Yeah,
It's
people
gonna be
they're
just
going
like-
overdo it. Real overdo it.
Oh gosh.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
What is your carnival ritual?
Carnival ritual. As we just do pan on the greens, and then Juve.
Yeah.
Yeah, go and meet Thomas and them. Come on for Juve, Three Canal, of course. And then that's it, carnival done. And no, well, of course, Cambule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always live for Cambule. So
Yeah.
Cambule, taking in like the dragons and thing on the Friday, the traditional mass, pan, and then Juve. And after Juve, that's it.
What you're suggesting is that there are two carnivals.
Yes.
There's a carnival of, you know, the ritual, the remembrance, the specific rebellious type of revelry.
Yes.
And that's the one that you feel closest to.
Yeah, definitely.
But what place do you see? I mean, just talking in general about carnival and in terms of what we understand of carnival, what we sell to the world as carnival, how do you see the carnival of rebellion playing a role in how we portray carnival? Because I think certainly one of the challenges that we've had recently is thinking about what we sell to the world as carnival,
Yeah.
and how authentic that is.
Right. Well, I mean, Trinidad, we are a very classist society, very classist nation, right?
I like how you say that with a smile, you know?
because I know the type of controversy that could come
Yeah.
from saying something like that. But it's the truth. I mean, the way that we marketed Trinidad throughout at least my life has always been, really to kind of push the middle class to upper experience as the experience of Trinidad and Tobago, which leaves out a whole sector of the society. And even more so, that is the sector of the society that Carnival come from. You understand? That is where it was born. It was born in the quote-unquote ghetto. You understand? And to take it now and for people to see Carnival as this very sanitized, you know, rope. Don't get me started on the rope. The rope is one of the worst things that happen to Carnival. But the rope is a reflection of the society.
Yeah.
You know what? We want to have this experience. We want to experience your thing, claim it as we thing, but protect ourselves from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is Trinidad. That's Trinidad. I think we need definitely, if we really want to package, if we want people to buy into our experience, we have to push something authentic. And I think that's what, like if you look at, let me say Jamaica, I think that is where they have an edge on us. Jamaicans are unashamed in who they are.
Yeah.
You know, like for a Jamaican, this is how I am. This is how I just talk. You understand? I'm not going to give you, you know, I'm not going to give you a sanitized version of Jamaica. This is where it is. You understand?
Yeah.
And it's come and experience it and enjoy it, or stay where it is. You understand?
Yeah.
But we have this way, we kind of like to pander and think, are we going to clean it up for people and talk properly so they can understand? No, if you don't understand me, you rock so. Yeah.
Oh gosh. We have a next piece of music which actually refers to this same idea.
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't plan that.
Yeah, we didn't plan that, but it happened so.
Yeah.
Every man in the land want to learn the calypso dance. Come let me dance the calypso dance. Man, woman and child want to learn the meaning of prance. Come let me do the calypso dance. Ay, ay, ay. Lord, can you? Can you? Can you? Can you picture the streets of fire with people dancing hands in the air? Yeah. It's the rhythm of life and you can survive the feeling once you get there. Limbo like me, everybody, go down. Limbo right down to the ground.
If Ole could smell this pot, right? I don't know how we're gonna find a way to like transmit the smell of this breadfruit and pigeon peas one pot situation onto the story, but it is seriously smelling very, very good right now. I forget my question. You know. It's so good. I forget my question.
Yeah, this happened.
Oh
This happened.
gosh. Yes, it was something about why dumpling don't belong in soup, Baidawi?
How much time you have?
No, actually, I understand what you mean. I personally feel that we eat too much flour.
Right.
And if I must have dumpling in soup, it would be cassava dumpling.
Right.
Right?
I could understand
that. And, you know, to me, that fits with what soup's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? Soup's supposed to be nutritious and things.
Yes.
And I find that flour dumpling is just
Is anti.
It's anti what you're doing.
Yeah. It's like you take something and you're making something real good, and then you decide to just throw rubbish in it. No.
Yeah, concrete. Concrete.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Now the thing is, right, and I was careful when I said that, because I know growing up, you would put dumpling in soup, so you stretch it.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
because you're feeding a family. You
Yeah.
know, you think, I mean, your grandmother, your mother, saying your father, whoever making the soup, you put some dumpling in because you want to feed the family. But now, and I mean, I check in my privilege before I say this. Provision and that kind of thing, it's easier to come by in terms of accessibility, price, and that kind of thing. So why not make a totally wholesome soup? You know,
Yeah.
why not just put dashi in, put your sweet potato, your cassava, tanya, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You put that in your soup, your green fig,
Green fig,
you know,
for sure.
instead of boiled flour. But people love the flour, right? Yeah, they love
But
the,
I mean, certainly flour is one of the things that is a blessing and a curse when it comes to our food.
Yeah.
Because there's so much flour, so much white flour specifically, in the food that we consume on a daily basis. And in fact, you know, the things that we celebrate the most are fried flour, or boiled flour, or baked flour,
Yeah.
some kind of flour. You know, olha.
You go let me
Good
know.
thing.
You go let me know. You go let me
Good
know.
thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I think we need to have a song. Oh, good, and I get the bay leaf too. Nice. So, y'all, yeah, I'm gonna eat some breadfruit and dasheen and pigeon peas. Cook up. Nice.
This Janika flow. This Janika damn well flow. This Janika flow. Stop, bring the intro. Stop, it just come again, and we bring a brand new vibe, a brand new style of rap, so from a brand new type of tribe. Take the drum of Africa and give it all we played. Feel the vibe of a ramp, they going down the landslide lane. Flow, the slow how the rap so it can flow. So Kindred come to show them what we knew they didn't know, and all of the nation they just come and gather round to listen to the rap, so it be rough and rugged song. Did you know? This Janika flow. This Janika damn well flow. This Janika flow. Stop, come there we go. Stop, go. People at the girl, feel the gower at the drum. See how the ground a shake when the rap so man a come. It's just a Trini vibration to African rhythm. You're begging for the music, so I reach to get you some. You saw how you really want some. So pretenders on the run by the time the song is done. Come to the vibe, let me get you a taste, and wash it down with music while the people move their way. Did you know? This Janika flow. This Janika damn well flow. This Janika flow. Akine, come there we go. Step into the show to show that I can flow. Got rhymes.
So, Baidawi, what is the spice combination for this? Because it's really the combination of, and you see the parents and them agree
Yeah,
with me.
they know what time it
They
is.
know what time it is. The spice combination is what is really sending this over the edge. What is the spice combination?
Nutmeg, cinnamon, clove,
Yeah.
and allspice or pimento, as the Jamaicans would
Right.
call it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. The spices, I realized that growing up, that's what my grandmother and my mother would use cooking. But I only realized that later on when starting to cook for myself and then using it and smelling it. Because back in the days when my grandmother was making like sago and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
I distinctly remember the smell, but obviously at that age, I can't tell you what I was smelling.
Yeah.
It's only when I make sago for myself and I started to put bay leaf and nutmeg and thing in it, I was like, Dread, this is smelling exactly like how my grandmother kitchen used to smell.
Behold the bay leaf.
I don't know.
Bay leaf is a crucial, essential ingredient.
Yeah. You remember at
In
that
our
time
food.
people was trying to ask if bay leaf does actually have any flavor in it? Yeah.
But I mean, bay leaf is bay.
Bay leaf is bay. Yeah. I don't know what kind of slander there was on, but bay leaf
Yeah,
is bay.
no, this is a serious thing. This is a serious thing. Also pepper, of course.
Yeah.
So-
Must have a little pepper.
So the full rundown. Pigeon peas.
Right. Pigeon peas, callaloo bush, yeah, usual suspects: ginger, garlic, onion, pimento.
Yeah.
We have coconut milk in there, ruku, of course,
Yeah.
must put the ruku.
Yeah.
And yeah, the spice blend, pigeon peas, breadfruit, cooked down,
Time.
yeah, thyme and celery. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, people feel that shadow benny is like the taste of Trinidad food, but actually, I feel that it's flavor pepper.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Well, pimento, yeah?
Pimento.
Yeah.
Yeah, flavor pepper, yeah.
I am not one of those people who like to put shadow benny in everything. It has something shadow benny for, and some things I wouldn't put shadow benny in. Yeah.
And this is one of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't put shadow benny in this. This I like, thyme, celery, even probably rosemary. I would use to this, yeah. But I wouldn't put shadow benny in this.
And in terms of fidelity to what the African diet would have been at the time, this is very close because they would have been planting their own pigeon peas.
Right.
And pigeon peas as a nitrate fixer in the soil works really good with different complementary crops.
Well, I didn't know that. You teaching me
yeah,
something
yeah.
now.
Well, I mean, this is what I learned from my grandmother.
Okay.
Which was when she was planting pigeon peas, she would plant it next to certain things, right? So
Right.
you have, and that was because the pigeon peas would retain would send out the nitrates into the soil to
Okay.
make sure that it was keeping the nutrients going.
Look at that.
Right? So, yeah, some things take nitrates out and
Right.
some things put nitrates in.
You
So
learn something new
so
every day.
pigeon peas as a thing that you grow
Yeah.
as part of your garden is an important thing.
Okay.
And of course, having legumes is also
Yeah,
an
definitely.
important thing. And
Definitely.
also, I wanted to talk about the fact that this is vegetarian.
Yes.
And we typically have a perception that our ancestors didn't eat anything vegetarian.
Yeah.
Vegetarianism is a very recent concept. And also that, we were very focused on the bad cuts of meat that we received
Right.
and constantly embellishing or, putting those in the food
Yeah.
and at any opportunity that we got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand it because definitely a lot of the foods that are traditional, the kalaloo and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
the kuku, okra rice, it's vegetarian. We have a lot of vegetarian, but again, I think because of media and food media, when people hear vegetarian or vegan, they automatically think quinoa and kale and, whereas we have a lot of vegetarian and vegan dishes traditional to indigenous to...
And can we just say that cassava is the original gluten-free?
Talk to them now. Talk to them now. Let them know now.
Hello.
And listen, now that I can make fufu, here now. Fufu every day,
Actually, yeah. I mean, I had to make some the other day, and I was like, but it's so much nicer than when I get the good St. Vincent yam.
Yeah.
It's so much nicer than having a mashed potatoes or whatever, and it's certainly much better for your digestion, for your system. It's coming from a lot closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. So we have one last tune? No? One last tune. Everybody get to Tulbe.
See this tune? Yeah. Had to be there. Yeah.
Shuffle and drop, I tell you, shuffle and drop, shuffle and drop, stop. And if you fall down, pick yourself up because money holding you. This is the dance that there's you when they got trouble. That's a shake and a body. Keep on a shuffling. Shake to the east, shake to the west, shake it to the one that
Yeah, that was one of the greatest bands to come out of the
Yeah, no. Fred, I'd love to see this be performed for the Master.
Oh! dance we do from 9 till morning.
And it could
Big,
only
big
sound.
tune
Yeah.
from Gazette, Nikolai Salcedo, we brethren, fellow Wajang, inside the Wajang discotheque. I belong to the House of Music with the boss.
Oh, gosh, again,
The boss.
boss
Yeah,
Kevin
no.
Touch.
Well, I mean,
Right.
after I eat that
Yeah.
breadfruit and thing cooked down, I mean,
All right.
I don't shake your hand there.
Thank you.
Baidawi.
Thank you.
And also, thank you so much for coming and joining us
It
in
was-
the House of Music.
Oh, my pleasure.
You know, as a fan of Eater Food and as a fan of your work, you know, it's just really great to get some of the insights and the, you know, the behind the scenes stories. And
Thank
wishing you
for having
all
me.
the best
Thank
into
you.
the future and just keep growing and keep provoking them.
I'm trying to do less provoking these days, believe it or not. Trying to behave myself. Yeah.
Bad is also a behavior, you know, to quote my good friend Lisa Marie. Bad is also a behavior.
That sounds like something Lisa Marie would say.
Oh gosh, but give thanks for this Emancipation Day and for all the sacrifices of all those who went before us, all of those who insisted that emancipation should be a holiday declared. And Trinidad and Tobago was the first country in the world to declare emancipation as a public holiday in 1985. And some of the people who were at the forefront of that movement were people like Brother Resistance, Lancelot Lane, Lijla Yasu Umawali, Kafra Kambon, people who also walked in front during the 1970 Black Power Revolution. And so we give thanks to them, we pour a libation for them, and we remember their names, we call their names today and every day into the future as we remember that freedom is something that we constantly claim, we constantly reflect on. It is not a destination, but a journey that is always going on. And food is the fuel for the journey. So give thanks to the food as well as the people who were on the front line, because without the food, without the music, without the poets, without the culture, we would not remember what we have to claim and reclaim, right?
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
Walk Good Ollie, we have a closing tune from our next favorite band, 12.
This one is one close to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sheldon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sheldon is our boss.
He's a boss.
Sheldon is our
He's a
boss.
boss. He's a boss.
Criminally underrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so many geniuses in this space.
But we could go to a whole nother episode talking about that.
That's for another discussion,
Yeah.
another day. Walk good, y'all.
In sickness and in health, till death bring us together. I shudder to think that it would ever sever. Let truth be the bond that adheres and holds us together. 'Cause a lie is a dagger set to put us asunder, forever asunder. Prosper our way as we move along on our way each day. Prosper